the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. My name is Joshua. I am your host once again. You know how it is already. Every day, every week, we bring you the perfect guest to answer our question. And our question for today is the gig economy the secret weapon for solopreneurs in order to scale their businesses quickly and efficiently? Well, I believe we have the perfect guest to answer that question. Elizabeth Eyes is the founder and CEO of Results Resourcing, a platform that helps solopreneurs and small businesses scale by matching them with vetted freelance professionals. With over 35 years of experience, Elizabeth is an expert in leveraging talent in the gig economy. She has successfully led multi-billion-dollar organizations, startups alike. Results resourcing combines human experience, human expertise, and AI to provide curated freelance talent tailored to each client's needs. Elizabeth is passionate about creating win win solutions for employees and freelance contractors all around the world. And today she is going to share that passion and insight with us. Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having me today, Joshua. I'm
Well,
excited to be part of the business story of the week.
absolutely. Well, I too am quite excited about this episode because I'm quite particular about what you do with results resourcing because um, I used to be involved in a similar kind of a smaller scale company, and there are a lot of how you call this outsourcing companies here in the Philippines.
Mm,
it's quite common around here. But of course, before we really get into that, Elizabeth, I always start off the show with the origins, the journey. Because the second name of the show, after all, is story. So, what inspired you to create results resourcing? But if we can go back way beyond that, how did your previous experiences leading large organizations, startups, influence this venture? Any childhood experiences that got you into entrepreneurship, that got you into, leading organizations, got you into business? What is the story of Elizabeth Eyes?
well, it's a great way to start, and it's been a really fun journey.
Hmm.
I actually had no role models for entrepreneurship in my family. Everyone were
Oh,
educators, and so the closest thing I came to really having a business role model was the fact that we moved a lot. As my dad was a
oh,
teacher, a principal, superintendent of schools, and then a university professor, and we moved each time. So rather in the United States, people in education generally stay in one place.
hmm,
Um, in primary and secondary education, and he didn't. And so as children, we moved a lot, and it ended up making me very resourceful, used to change, and that was very useful actually when I was the first kid to go into business.
wow,
And I spent decades in the business world, really wearing all the hats, starting at a base level and then rising to a very senior executive position.
hmm,
And I'd also done a lot of technology projects because I was one of those people that was open to it. It's like, well, let's see how that can help us do business better. I was
right,
always really open to technology. So that was kind of the lead up. I got great training, great exposure, led a lot of people, um, just learned a lot about business. But I think the secret also was that I was in the industry of commercial insurance. And
Right.
so my clients every day were commercial businesses, and I learned a lot about how different businesses ran well or didn't run well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of really was formed a phenomenal foundation, I think, for me. But the key thing was 22 years ago, I up and left, and I joined my first startup. And
Wow.
I'd always kind of been an entrepreneur in corporate
Right.
America, but I
Mm-hmm.
actually joined a startup. And I live in New York City. I moved to New
Uh-huh.
York City at the time,
Uh-huh.
and uh, and I've really been in the entrepreneurship space ever since. And that really leads me into our topic today about the gig economy,
Mm-hmm.
because I think a lot of startup businesses, similar to solopreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
they need to find resourceful ways to get great talent. And
Yes,
so that's
absolutely.
really where, when I hired my first gig worker, my first
Mm-hmm.
freelancer, and it's kind of been history ever since.
That there you go. I was going to say the rest has been history, but also it's been
Yeah.
quite the road as well. And the way you talk about it is like it's something that you've enjoyed as well, not just something that you undertook and it just fell into. Because there are different stories when it comes to entrepreneurship. Some people got into it by chance. Some people were forced into it and learned to love it. You just seem to love it. Period. And it's great because the story now that you're telling us is that you first experienced the gig economy, to be precise, when you hired your first freelancer, as you were, as you involved yourself in the startup. Talk to us a little bit about that. It feels like the pivotal moment. That was what I was going to ask. From your journey, from your origins, to you involving yourself in the startup, doing your startup, living in New York, and now hiring your first freelancer and opening up your world to the gig economy.
Hmm.
What was that
Well, I
like? What was that, and how did that start off everything?
I think what I realized is that, when you have a new idea, like many startups do,
Hmm.
you need the best talent you can get to help
Right.
you, build that idea into something that's viable. And but
Hmm.
you're also constrained by resources, money,
Hmm.
time, variety of things, and as well as you're often breaking new ground as an entrepreneur.
Right.
And
Right.
so I had a very broad corporate background. I had done a lot of different things, but
Hmm.
I didn't have, say, industry expertise in a particular area. So when I was working with other early stage companies, I would, if you will, round myself out by hiring somebody that was an expert in podcasting, or not,
Hmm.
probably not at the time, but that just is as an example, or
Right.
the mortgage industry or whatever it
Right.
might be. And so
Hmm.
I realized that by teaming
Hmm.
with talented professionals that were,
Hmm.
specializing in a given thing was a really great formula for success. And
Right.
frankly, I also started to think about the fact that no one thought twice about outsourcing work to an attorney or to a
Oh.
CPA. That
Hmm.
is contract work. That is
Right.
freelance work. But that
Yes.
was normal. And
Hmm.
I just really, I guess I had the insight early on that there was a lot of specialty kind of work, whether it was graphic design or
Hmm.
research or pricing models or whatever it was that people specialized in. And why not join forces with those people? Because it would help me take my ideas further faster. And that's really what happened.
And especially the key word there is talented. Like you need quality talent, you need quality people on your team. Because of course, like no one builds businesses on their own, or it's
Yeah.
the entrepreneurship, so to speak, is not a solo journey. Of course, we have our solopreneurs, right? But there's always going to be a team behind that, and it's very
Hmm.
important to share that load. I think anyone starting off as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, will quickly realize that I need help. You need to ask for help. And the gig economy is rich and rife with that talent, but also it's also a pool where you kind of need to sift through and make sure that you are finding the quality talent that you need. This is where I believe where results resourcing comes in, and your vetting process, which emphasizes quality freelancers. Talk to us a little bit about that process. Can you walk us through some of the steps that ensures you give the best matches to your clients.
Absolutely. Well, I think to flesh out a little bit more of the story, when I was hiring freelancers, I found that I was quite good at it. And I think a
Oh.
lot of that was because of my background, my
Hmm.
corporate background. I,
Hmm.
understood how to hire. I understood how to write a job description. I knew how to really think through the business requirements that I had. But
Hmm.
when I talked to a lot of my clients who were smaller companies,
Hmm.
they didn't have those skills. And so the talent was also me, that I could,
Interesting.
in a sense, I was a freelancer bringing that curation ability to my clients. They would see my freelancers on my team and say, "Hey, that Joshua's great. Can you find us a Joshua?" And that's really how it started. And I
Wow.
started by hiring through well-known platforms, but over time that wasn't a scalable idea, and that led me
Right.
to build Results Resourcing. And
Hmm.
so Results Resourcing is a technology platform, but one of our unique qualities is the human interaction, because I think
Right.
that's what's missing from many of the talent platforms is
Interesting.
you're talking to technology if you're a small business, a
Hmm.
solopreneur. And so part of our process is starting with the client and having a conversation like we're having right now, where we're talking about what their business problem is, what kind of talent they need. And a lot of times we're actually, if you will, advising them, like,
Right.
okay, if this is your goal, these are the skills you're going to need to get there. And then we end up helping to shape the business requirements, because if you don't get those right, you're never going to find the right talent. And so
Right.
there's tremendous talent out there, but to me, it's a big matching process. And it
Hmm.
starts with being clear on what you need. And then
Right.
it's a
Interesting.
much easier process. And we've built both technology and our human interaction processes that really help the client arrive at the right definition of what they need. And then through technology and our banks of people that we've developed over the years and curated, we make good matches that are competent, reliable, and
Wow.
trustworthy.
Okay, wow, and that's interesting. That's an interesting aspect of it. It's like a human interaction because, again, like if there are, you said like there's a lot of platforms, just like a dime a dozen of freelance, looking for a freelancer, looking for hiring, a job post, job boards, a lot. There's a lot of them, but it's interesting that you incorporate this human interaction where you really sit down and talk with the client and these are what we need, these are what we're looking for, and it's easier to find the matches that way, but also it's easier to create a connection, a genuine connection, and
Mm-hmm.
allows you to really kind of develop that strong bond, right? They'll likely trust you more, and they'll likely trust the talent that you are going to vet for them. You talk about human interaction, but I believe that there is also you also utilize AI when it comes to matching the right clients with the right freelance talent. Um, could you talk to us about that combination a little bit and how results resourcing utilize AI within your system and within your matching system when it comes to your freelance talent?
Well, AI is definitely the buzzword these days, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
there's a lot of different definitions, ultimately, but I mean, AI is as basic as machine workflows, which have been around forever. And
Yes,
it
yes.
all starts with a quality database and then
Hmm.
really having logic in the system that makes the proper association with different factors.
Yes, yes.
And because I had a particular passion for helping solopreneurs and small businesses, it's a very disaggregated market. So
Right.
to me, the way to afford to be able to have the human interaction that ends up with a better match was it needed to be highly automated. So our
Right.
automation isn't so much for browsing, like
Hmm.
freelancers don't browse jobs and clients don't browse freelancers.
Hmm.
We're the intermediary, and we use the technology to make
There
that
you go.
smart.
Hmm.
And so by getting good data about what the business owner needs, getting that into the system, then the
Hmm.
system is doing a lot of the work of going through all the potential candidates, surfacing the best candidates. And
Hmm.
so actually the humans spend time after the machine has done a sort. So we actually
Right.
will talk to the top 10 freelancers for a particular job that match for a variety of reasons. And so we have plenty of algorithms and things like that that are moving people and jobs through the system and ultimately matching. And then the human steps in. And I actually believe that that's going to be an important approach with
Yes.
the AI of today,
Okay.
because AI of today is only trained so far, on data that's
Hmm.
it can be trained on, and it's not creative. It's
Yes.
not critical thinking. So I
Of
think at
course.
some point having the human step in is always going to be important to
Always.
fact check,
Hmm.
to guard against hallucinations, to make sure the client's voice is properly represented. So we're just constantly thinking about where AI is moving and to
Yes.
use
Absolutely.
it to
Absolutely.
the best result.
Yes, and I love how you said that because um, it's still a tool. At the end of the day, it still needs human interaction. It still, at the end of the day, needs human input. It's only as good as the information, the database that we feed it. And again, it needs to be a tool that we make work for us, not the other
Hmm.
way around. And I think
Right.
that's very important. Like you said, it's a buzzword right now. Every other company is using that term, but really, when it boils down to it, it's been around for a while, right? You're talking about automations. You're talking about it's just gotten smarter and smarter, more efficient, but we still need that human interaction, like you said, the way results resourcing utilize that same human interaction when it comes to matching talents and
Mm.
clients. This is more of like a segue question, Elizabeth. How many Filipinos are in your talent pool? Is there a lot of them? It's like, what is the quality talent pool that you would say that is outside the U.S. that you most see that are really good quality talent that you match often with clients?
Oh, so that's an interesting question, and
Mhm.
I have to say the answer is zero. And
Really?
the but let me tell you why.
Okay.
There are amazing, resourceful, talented, smart people all over the world that speak and write English well.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, what our clients come to us for are competent, reliable people, but that
Yes.
have grown up in the United States or
Right.
Canada,
Right. Right.
understand the culture,
Hmm.
understand the business environment, and that
Hmm.
can be down to the state, city, town,
Interesting.
and it would be like me trying to transplant myself to the Philippines. I might speak the language, but I don't live there. I didn't don't have that lived experience.
Interesting.
And so we've ended up focusing because the market is huge. I mean, there's 27 million solopreneurs in the United States and another
Wow.
6 million businesses with less than 15 employees. That's an enormous market. And we
Hmm.
feel the value we can really bring to that market are really capable people, but they understand the culture and
Hmm.
how business is done here. And so that's the only reason we don't
That's
have
interesting.
freelancers from any other countries. Well, actually, we have them on the platform, but they're not being actively matched to jobs because
Wow.
that's not what our clients are asking for. I
Interesting.
do have referral partnerships
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
people that have firms that work with Filipino
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
Indian, South
Yeah.
American,
Yes, of
African
course.
uh, firms, and the talent is terrific if that's what the client is looking for.
Of
And I
course,
think
of
that's
course.
the key because sometimes people don't understand the extra work it takes to work with someone that doesn't understand the culture and
Absolutely.
has it or the business environment. But
Yes.
there's super talent all over the world, and it's just a matter of
All over the
making
world.
the best match.
Absolutely. And it's always like, um, I believe there's always still that native English, right? Like if you're a native English speaker, it still doesn't compare to, even no matter how excellent the English speaker
Yeah.
might be, no matter how learned they are, the native English speaking, I think, still trumps. And it doesn't, and I see why most U.S. clients would want that because it's important to, again, like it'll take time to just teach them that as well. And
Yeah.
speaking of value, and this is like a more like a value proposition question now, in that when it comes to today's fast-paced business, environment, everything's just going haywire. eh, Outsourcing now is outsourcing vetted freelancers via results resourcing. How does it how do you separate yourselves? Like helping solopreneurs and small businesses focus on their core activities and scale effectively. Um, what would you say is the core, again, what makes results resourcing unique when it comes to that, but also educate us a little bit on why outsourcing is the way for solopreneurs to scale effectively.
Well, I think I can probably tackle those couple of questions with basically what I call the value of time.
Mm,
And many times when we have our first conversations with clients, they've got some great idea that's the core of their business, but then they realize that they've got to do a lot of other things to run a business that isn't
interesting.
necessarily that core thing that they love to do that really delivers value to clients. And so, as I've come to say, every business, even a solopreneur, has a back room. And I think that our particular focus is on how do you find great talent that can help a business move forward by outsourcing the back room and
Wow.
for a business. So the first question I ask either directly or indirectly. In fact, we have a technology tool on our website called the Value of Time Calculator, and
Oh,
it
wow.
starts with what's an hour of your time worth. And nobody ever says $5. Nobody. But when we ask them that question, and the average in the United States is $170.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we ask them, what do they do for a living? What value do they bring to the market? How much time of their work week do they spend, of their week do they spend working? And 57% of everyone that's ever taken the survey is spends on backroom work. So that is work that the client is not going to pay you for. That's just a cost of
Yes.
doing business.
Hmm.
And so the theme that we talk about is that you should spend your time on your core business, and anything that's not delivering value, that's not generating revenue, is ripe for outsourcing. And maybe you don't outsource at all day one, but over
Yes. Exactly.
time, whittle away at that back
Hmm.
room, so you spend more and more time. That's all opportunity cost. And
Right.
I also help people understand that that's kind of how you can pay for freelance assistance, is if you can
Exactly.
convert those hours that you're doing invoicing or client follow-up or whatever it might be,
Of course.
copywriting, you
Hmm.
can convert that to revenue generating work that pays for outsourcing.
Yes. There you
So
go.
it's
There you
it's
go.
really a virtuous circle. And so
Yes.
that's kind of how we position it.
Hmm.
And then again, I think one of our big differentiators is our curation process and the fact that
Right.
we actually spend time
Hmm.
talking to people, because we find this is a conversation about what is core and non-core work, and to even get them thinking about that it's an important strategy to scaling the business, because no one person can do everything, nor should
Hmm.
they. In fact,
Yes.
I guess the father of management thinking is Peter Drucker, and he said this, like something like 60 years ago: do what you do best and outsource the rest. And I
Wow.
think those are words to live by.
Hmm.
Do what you love, do what you do best, and find other people that love to do the things you shouldn't be doing.
Hmm.
That's a perfect marriage.
That is a perfect marriage, and the perfect match as well. And what you guys have been doing with resource resourcing, but also I love that because that is exactly it. That's how you scale. You need to be focusing on the highest revenue potential tasks. You can't be wasting your time on, I mean, uh, wasting time in the sense that the small task you could outsource that. Why not? And then you could bring in more revenue, pay more outsourcing. That's literally the cycle, and it scales and it
Yeah.
scales and it scales, and it all starts with your human interaction, your consultation. I believe that you offer a free non-obligation consult. You, to our audience and listeners out there who are listening to this as well. Elizabeth Eyes offers a free, no obligation consult. You guys can explore together your needs, your scaling needs, and you can schedule this through the website. Elizabeth, let us know where we can do that. Also, let us know where we can find you. Where are you most active in? Are you on Instagram? I know you're on LinkedIn, but where else can we book you this consultation, and where else can we learn more about results resourcing in Elizabeth Eyes?
Well, thank you for asking that. Our website is resultsresourcing.net.
Hmm.
And so you can better remember the name of the company. We named it Results Resourcing
Hmm.
because we want to resource results.
There you go.
And I
Beautiful.
mean, that's what it's all about. You don't want to
Excellent.
hire somebody that's not going to deliver what you need. So
Hmm.
we are all about delivering results. And
Hmm.
so that's an easy way to remember why we named the company that. And we
Hmm.
are obviously available through the internet. We are on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook,
Hmm.
we're on Twitter or X, depending on how you think about things these days.
Hmm.
So, we have, and we do a lot of writing, a lot of it through all those channels. We also, deliver webinars. We really try to help people understand their
Hmm.
options. I mean,
Hmm.
ultimately, I consider my mission to empower the purpose of others.
Hmm.
And so that
Wow.
means if I can find talent that will help them achieve whatever goal they have in life, that's good for them, good for their families, good for their communities. It's just good all the way around. And it's what makes me get up every morning.
Wow, I love that. I love that, Elizabeth. And thank you so much again for being on the show, getting up and inspiring us and sharing all these insights and sharing us the story behind results resourcing and the secret weapon in the gig economy for solopreneurs. Elizabeth, before I truly let you go, I would love to leave us one thing, any a nugget of wisdom, anything at all, before we wrap this up. Take us home.
I think if I have to think of one thing, I would say it's purpose.
Wow.
And I think that's been the secret for me is finding
Mhm.
something that gives me purpose
Wow.
because that fuels my innovation and everyone has ups and downs. And when I have the down day, I just think about, did I help somebody? My
Wow.
purpose is to empower others. And I think that's will also help people focus on their core work is
Wow.
what's their purpose?
Mm.
It's driven by the core work they should be doing, and anything that's not that, they should think about finding other ways to get done. So I think I'll pick the word purpose. I think that
That's,
sums it up.
I love it. And today you truly have shared your purpose with us, Elizabeth, and to all our audience and listeners. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have found this insightful as much as I did, and inspired you to find your purpose as well today. Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the show,
Thank you so much, Joshua. I really enjoyed it.
and to all our audience and listeners out there. See you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.